every story has a beginning. Tell our audience, where were you born and raised, or what was your upbringing like?
All right, so I was actually born and raised in San Diego, California. I lived there for the first 17 years of my life. You can only imagine what that's like. You know, the beach is right there, and it was a very diverse community. And so we had, you know, pretty much all walks of life there. And then I was moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my senior year of high school. So that was a huge culture shift for me. I got here and there was only black and white people. That's kind of it. With, you know, sprinkles of other people, you know, here and there. Racism was different here, you know, obviously a lot more obvious and those types of things. And of course, you know, I was raised with my mom, my dad, and my sister. I was also, you know, involved in various other activities too. But track was my thing back then. Running was my thing back then.
Awesome. And that's going to go into the next thing we're going to discuss, your introduction to sports. You mentioned running track and field. Were you involved in track in high school or middle school, or was this something that came on a little bit later?
In middle school, I liked to run prior to middle school. But, you know, once you get to middle school, that's when sports become an actual organized thing, I think. And so I started competing in middle school, and I competed all the way through high school, and mostly sprints and short distances. I didn't like anything over 400 meters. It just felt like a long distance to me, so I didn't do those. But I did most of the sprints and relays.
So now we're going to go into the next topic we're going to discuss, and that's your introduction to yoga. How did you get involved in yoga? Was this something that happened by accident, or was this something that you were always intrigued by?
It was probably more related to an accident then. So I had my youngest daughter, and after a lot of running, because I still loved running, even after high school, I run often. But after a while, your knees, you know, get older and your knees don't like you as much. And so after I had her, I was looking for a way to exercise, but low impact. And I was at the gym, and there was a yoga class. So I went to the yoga class, and then that's basically how I started. I loved it, and so I just kept practicing yoga after that. So that was my introduction to yoga. It was quite by accident. Literally just walked into the class and loved it.
Let's stay with your introduction to yoga for a moment. We hear about the countless benefits of yoga. I want to ask you, what benefits have yoga provided for you in your life?
All right, so initially I started, you know, like I said, practicing yoga for the physical thing, you know, part of it, flexibility, and being able to get a strength workout without it being high impact, and those types of things. But as I continued to practice yoga over the years and learn more about yoga, the mental wellness part of yoga, the being able to use it as a coping mechanism for anxiety, stress, being able to rest at night, sleep better, the deep breathing, all of the breath work that you do in yoga, being able to use that in times when you're already in an anxiety-inducing situation, so you can take and say, okay, this is what I've learned in yoga. I can deep breathe now, and I can focus on other things and kind of work your way out of that anxious situation, has been huge for me. I find that I actually do yoga more in just regular situations. People won't even know I'm doing it, you know? I'm like literally in a meeting and I'm like doing my deep breathing and counting, and they don't even know I'm doing it, but I'm just trying to figure out how to, you know, calm down in that situation. So it's been a huge benefit for me, even more in that way than the initial, what I started it for. Even though it does help with, you know, still with flexibility, bone density, core strength, and posture, and all of those things too. But I find that the mental wellness part of it has been more beneficial for me.
Now, you mentioned about yoga being beneficial to you in terms of the wellness part. And I want to talk about yoga in the African-American community. Yoga has really been big in the black community. More and more people of color are delving deep into the art of yoga and all the countless benefits that you have mentioned. What do you think yoga brings to the African-American community?
I think it brings the holistic kind of aspect to wellness that we're kind of missing. A lot of times we are taught that, you know, if you have an ailment, you go to the doctor, they give you medicine. And that's kind of as a nurse, as a registered nurse, you know, by practice, that's kind of what I've seen most, right? Like when I'm at the hospital and I'm taking care of patients, the majority of the patients that are suffering from medical diagnoses that are sometimes avoidable, like high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes and things that you're not born with, for instance, basically want to treat all of their ailments with medication and not that other holistic, other opportunities for wellness. So yoga actually can help provide a more holistic and another option other than your medication to help you manage those types of things. And it just so happens that the Black community happens to be, the higher population of people with those avoidable diagnoses like high blood pressure and diabetes and renal disease and things like that. So, and also pain and being able to manage our pain. So yoga helps with pain management as well. Unfortunately, it's just not one of those things that are covered by insurance, and it tends to be pricey for some people. So being able to offer it to the community at a low price really does help. Or if they can find classes that are free and things like that.
Okay, let's talk now about mental health, because you have a business, what's called Nikki Scott Incorporated, and you guys basically are a health and wellness consulting firm. And one of the things that you specialize in is providing not just physical wellness, but also mental wellness. Can you tell our audience just a little bit about the things that you do in terms of as far as keeping patients or keeping people's mental health in check? Because we know that mental health is a dire problem in a lot of communities of color, and it's not really properly addressed. So can you just tell our audience a little bit about what your business is doing in terms of dealing with mental health?
Yes. Each of the classes that we offer, we always offer some sort of wellness component to the yoga class. So it's not just the yoga class. You usually come and you learn a little bit about something. And we talk about mental wellness in each of the classes, whether it's depression or anxiety or even if it's an addiction or those types of things. We discuss it. The one thing that people need to realize is that communication and talking about it is the first thing we have to do, right? So if you don't talk about it, then it gets brushed under the rug. So our main focus is to get the information out there. We talk about it anytime we can. Mental wellness, we just basically push the issue. How are you feeling? And we really want to know, like when we ask that question, right? Like, how are you feeling? And we want to know how you're feeling. The other part of that is that as part of being a registered nurse, I'm also a case manager. So if I do get an answer back about, I've been feeling really down for a while, or I've not been able to get out of this funk, or I've been really anxious, or my medications aren't working, as a case manager, I'm able to find resources for people and lead them in the right direction, which is one thing that you won't get from every yoga instructor. You just happen to have a yoga instructor that's a nurse and a case manager. So I'm able to offer that service. Which is really, I think, great for the African American community, because sometimes they just want somebody they can trust and talk to about their problem. And then not only that, but that person is armed with the resources to help them out. So that's one of the things that we do with Nikki Scott Inc., but also as part of even the Yoga Noir project, if I do get someone that comes to a class that has a mental health issue that they would like to discuss, or they need something further, like a counselor or something, I can do a referral as well.
Let's stay with mental health for a moment. Have you had any experiences in your life dealing with mental health?
Yes, several. So I actually struggle with depression myself on occasion, and I've had a history of eating disorders. And so I actually had my own issue when I was trying to find somebody to assist me with my own eating disorder, finding someone that is a person of color that could actually help me, that could relate to me, because it's typically something that's looked at in the community as being a white people problem, a white girl problem, and not a black girl problem. And so, I would tell people, well, I'm having, this issue with eating, and they would be like, oh, that's not something that black people have. And they would just, kind of brush it away. And so it took years, I'm telling you, till I was like 35 or 36 before somebody actually said, no, this is a serious issue and let's address it. So it's mental health is actually near and dear to my heart because I have my own personal story as well.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting. Again, a lot of these problems can be solved if we just get out and talk and not ignore, but I'm glad you were able to get out of that and still continue to just move forward and just continue to not only help others get through their struggles, also you been helped as well getting through your struggle as well. So let's talk now about something very interesting, that's holistic nursing. I know holistic healthcare has become something that's been popular. What do you do in the area of holistic nursing?
I like to say that I'm the nurse that doesn't like medication. And a lot of people are like, what? Because, nurses are always like, take your medicine. And I do think that people should take medicine. But I also think that there's other ways to take care of yourself other than putting pills in your mouth. My thing is, if if you're not going to change your diet, then what's the purpose of taking your high blood pressure medication, right? So I try to teach from the holistic realm where, okay, we're also going to eat less sodium, and we're also going to try to meal prep, and we're also going to watch our calories, and we're going to exercise too, right? So we can bring our weight down, because that also helps. And your stress level, that has to come down because cortisol raises your blood pressure. So teaching from treating the whole entire patient, not just the ailment, but all of what's going on with them is super important to me. So that's basically how I nurse. I've always nursed that way. And I think, too, one of the things is it's not one of the things that's licensed here in Louisiana. So that's kind of an issue. So you kind of have to be, in your mind, you have to be a holistic nurse. In California and other states, they have holistic nursing as a licensed profession. But that's not something that's here in Louisiana just yet. So that's the other interesting part of that, is that I just basically took it upon myself to say, okay, I'm going to be a holistic nurse. I'm going to nurse from a holistic perspective. I'm going to treat the entire patient. And we do actually teach that in the nursing programs that we're in, and it's just not something that's recognized by the licensing board.
What are some of your favorite holistic supplements that you take on a regular basis?
Okay, so I like to try and get all of my omegas and all of those types of things from my diet. So if I can, I try not to take a supplement, right? So I will supplement with avocado, all of those fatty, good fats like fish and those types of things, nuts, berries, all of your fruits will give you all of your vitamins that, you kind of need in your diet. So I try to supplement that way, and I try to teach people to supplement that way. We do have an issue with food desert, obviously, so that's another challenge. So if that is an issue for people, I do teach that you can take a multivitamin once a day, and those types of things. Try and drink tea. Tea is absolutely my thing. I drink tea every single day, and it has its own wellness component as well. So just more natural things like that, if I can. And then, like I said, for people that already have either an issue with either finances or they live in a food desert, per se, I always offer, the other option is there's multivitamins that you can take daily to kind of help supplement those types of things.
You've got some awesome stuff going on with your business that you have called the Yoga Noir Project. It's something that you started in April of 2017. Just tell our audience about the Yoga Noir Project.
Okay, so the Yoga Noir Project has grown so fast. It grew faster than I thought it would. But initially, Yoga Noir Project was started after I started going to yoga classes and realized that I was pretty much always the only person of color, if not maybe one or two others, in my class. And it wasn't that I had an issue with being the only one there, because I'm a huge proponent of just be the representative, and that's fine for me. But because of the amount of patients I was seeing in the hospital that were people of color, mostly black, that had the ailments, but then when I was going out into these wellness, doing the yoga and all of this, and not seeing us there, I was wondering why people of color were not using yoga as a wellness option. So I started the Yoga Noir Project to introduce women of color initially to yoga. And then as it grew, and I noticed the need for men, obviously, of color, and also children, and how it helps in those areas, also I just expanded it. So now our mission is to create space for people of color to explore yoga on their path to wellness. And so basically we host classes all over the place. I have my own personal classes, or not personal, but my own classes, Yoga Noir classes that we have, but also I'm invited to do community events, and so I go out to community events, and I also do the one-on-one sessions with people who would like to have a wellness assessment and have some private things they would like to discuss. So Yoga Noir Project has grown into all of these different arms of things, the community arm, the classes that you could sign up for, the teaching out in the schools, summer camps and things like that, and then also the one-on-one sessions that we offer.
I want to talk now about another project business that you have, Nikki Scott Inc. Tell our audience just about what Nikki Scott Inc. is all about.
Sure. Okay, so Nikki Scott Inc. Is actually where we started. All right, so Nikki Scott Inc. is a community service development firm. Basically, we advocate for community wellness. We create community service projects that are feasible and sustainable. So the goal and the mission was to create when we first came out, so we're going to create 4 different events that we do on a regular basis, 4 projects, and Yoga Noir Project was the first one. And so Yoga Noir Project just kind of took off and had a life of its own, and so we weren't really expecting it to grow as fast as it did. We launched our project, which is a nonprofit organization called the One Breath Project. And that project is actually, the mission for that is to create a feasible community wellness, but from the financial standpoint. So to be able to create funds to be able to support those that are out in the community doing the work, because we all know, community service doesn't really pay, right? But you still have to be able to have funds to put on the event. So our goal with the One Breath Project is to generate funds to be able to assist those that are out in the community doing the work to continue to do their work.
Well, you got your hands full right there. Where can the audience find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram at either Nikki Scott Inc. or they can find me on Instagram at Yoga Noir Project. And then they can also find me on Facebook at the same. So on Facebook, I'm also Nikki Scott Inc. and Yoga Noir Project. If they do not go on social media, some people don't, I do have a website called Nikki Scott Inc. Nikky Scott INC. So they can go there as well, and everything that they would normally find on social media, like the classes and all of that, blogs and pictures from events, those are there too. So they can go there and instead of trying to, get mixed up into the social media world, if they would like.
Well, you heard it from her. She's Dr. Nicole Scott. She's spreading the word about yoga in communities of color and also raising awareness about mental health and also holistic nursing and doing just a little bit of everything to try to keep our communities healthy. Dr. Scott, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.